Okay, hello, sunshines. Hello,
Hello.
hello, hello. This is Ademigua, right?
Yes,
Did I
yes.
say it correctly?
You
Ademigua?
did. You did.
I did. Well, we've been talking like every Saturday for a while now, so. How are you?
I'm wonderful. I've had a great day and I'm really happy to be here. I was really excited. I was a little nervous actually, if you can believe it, but
What?
yeah, you never know. You're like, "Oh, well, shit, what do I got to talk about?" You know, you never
It's
think
just
you're as
conversation.
interesting as other people might think you are. So, yeah,
Aw.
but I had a
Well,
great day.
that's good because I did too. I
Good.
relaxed.
Good.
Yeah, I didn't really do too much of anything. I relaxed and I said I'm just gonna do that. For some reason I've just been real sleepy lately, but
It's that time of the year we're all hibernating.
I think so. It
Yeah.
is, right?
Uh-huh. It's that time to rest, to plan, to think, to come up with new ideas, to prepare and all of that. So by springtime you can just bust out and, do whatever it is you wanted to do.
I have boys in here and they all circling around me.
Oh, okay. Like a shark. Okay. Like shark.
Yeah,
All
they
right.
all like even my little one, the 11-year-old, they circling. They were all around me. Now I do lives almost every single week. And this one, they want to be a part of it for some reason.
Okay. All right.
But yeah, so I'm excited. I'm excited because um I when I was doing my list for picking who I want to be on, my I want people who are exciting, who are fiber artists, and who are like great spirit. And I don't want just anyone on here. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? If I don't have a vibe or if we're not cool, I don't want to fake the funk. So that's why I said when I get excited because you've been in the Zoomies for a little bit now, and I'm like, wow, we have a great vibe. We have a great like connection, and all
Yeah.
of us are very sincere
Yes.
for each other, and that's what I was excited about. I was excited because I feel like we're closer than others that I bring on here because we know a little bit more about each other than others. So
Yeah,
I'm
we've seen each
excited.
other dirty laundry a little bit.
Exactly. Exactly. So, who are you?
Oh gosh.
Who
That's
are
such a that's
you?
such a large question to
Well,
answer. Um yeah, so as you mentioned, fiber artist. I am a fiber artist. I crochet, I knit, I weave, I dye. And every time I say dye, people are like, "What?" I dye as in color, like dye yarn. I blend, I sew, I pretty much anything that you can do with fiber, I probably have at least attempted it, if not have it as a list of my skills. Other than that though, that's like the most recent. I think let's see, I've been crocheting and knitting since I was about 6 years old, but that was just, kind of something that I shared with my grandmother, and it was something fun to do. You make like a little hat or scarf for your auntie, and they rave about it when you're like 9 and you think it's like the greatest thing in the
yeah.
world. But then you go to high school or get a little older, and you're like, that's grandma stuff. Nobody's doing that. And, you know, I'm a little older because when I was in school, we didn't have the internet.
Yeah,
we didn't even
we
have
didn't.
email. There was no such thing.
No.
So all of this is like new. But so before all that, I've only been doing this what I'm doing now for like the last, I think, like 2 years. Um, I've only been weaving for since May. I started in May of
You
last
started
year.
weaving in May?
Yeah,
Wait till I show those pictures. Because
yeah.
now you got me wanting to do it. So I'm looking around and scraps and stuff just so I can start. because they came out so beautiful that it was something I always saw, but it was something I never thought of doing until I saw you do it. And I think it's
Aw.
more because I saw you in the process of making it, and I saw that process. If
Yeah,
I didn't see that
that does help.
process, I wouldn't.
That does help. It kind of, you're like, oh, that's how you do that. Okay, that looks fun, or that looks interesting, or that doesn't look as hard as I thought it was going to be, or all those different things. So it can spark that interest to partake, which is why I try to post process videos and process pictures so that I
Right.
can bring people into it, because you don't see a lot of us doing certain things, even though there's a small group of us in the fiber community as a whole, and then within that we tend to see us in crochet and knit. You don't see too many of us spinning yarn, you don't see too many of us dyeing yarn, you don't see too many of us weaving, or doing all these other things. So that was the reason why I started doing the process videos, because the first time I saw somebody weaving was a Black woman, and I was just like,
Oh,
well, I didn't know,
wow.
and when you think about it, it's like, okay, this is an indigenous art. Like Black and brown people started this shit from the beginning, so it's like, of course we do it, but you don't see it. So
Yeah.
I try to show different things. Even before I started doing fiber arts, I was always the odd one out, the black sheep, the weirdo kid, that was doing stuff that you normally didn't see people doing, especially,
Right.
Black women. And so I've always wanted to kind of show that you can do this, you can do that. Anytime I saw people doing something, I went the other direction on purpose. Whether it was like TV shows, they're talking about it, I don't want to hear about it, I don't want to watch it. If it's like gym shoes or clothes or whatever, I'm like, nope, I'm gonna wear something totally, weird and different and out of the box.
Right.
Or, all these different things. I gravitate towards things that are different. So when I saw this woman weaving, I was like, oh, this is amazing. You mean I can make fabric and make my own clothes and, do all this stuff? Even with crochet and knit, I didn't really see much outside of like hats, scarves, gloves,
Yeah. I
blankets,
didn't either.
things like that. So when I started to see clothing, because when you think clothing, you see like granny square shirts and stuff like that. And not knocking the granny squares, because sometimes they be fly, but for me it wasn't hitting it. So I was just like, no, I'm good. But when I started to see these cute little halter tops and bralettes,
Yeah.
bikinis, and that the one that I showed you before that I made, that harness, I was like, oh, this is like,
Yeah, I'm gonna show the pictures. I'm gonna show the pictures. Calm down. I'm gonna show the pictures because people are like, "Her work, what's her work?" Or and then we got praises for some
I'm
people.
into some stuff.
I
Okay,
see.
so when I had the opportunity to make a harness, girl, I was like, okay, this is some sexy ass knitting right here.
Yes,
Like, I'm
yes.
about to knit one in every color, and I got 3 of them. I want 2 more, but it's because it like cups your boobs just right, and like if you make it long enough, you can make it into a bodysuit harness, so it goes in between you.
Wow.
I mean, it's sexy. It's sexy. Yeah.
Wow.
So when I started seeing that, I'm like, okay, yeah, I could definitely get into this. Like this works for me. And even with patterns and things, I like kind of going off the pattern. You see stuff and you're like, okay, this is cute, but it'll look better if it was a halter top.
I do.
Or
Yeah,
it'll
I
be
do
better
that.
if it was fitted in the way, or something like that. So that's the beauty of learning, is because once you get to a certain level, you can go off the pattern. You can make additions and subtractions to the pattern and kind of make it your own, so that everything fits you personally.
Yeah. I'm going to show the pictures, but before we get there, I wanted to know more about you. I know that you dye yarn. When I first saw your work, I saw the like what Shanti do. The spinning. I saw different textures of yarn,
Yeah.
and I was not into different types of fiber art because I was very deprived, basically. I never was taught different types.
Mm-hmm.
But what I did learn is that noise again?
No, you sound good to me.
Okay. Because I could have sworn I heard some noise. I'm like, wait a minute, hold up. I hear it. No. But what I did learn was that fiber art is like way more than what I thought it would be. And then I started liking it even more. And then I saw Shanti's work. Then I
Yeah.
saw your work. And then you guys introduced me to other people. And then you can see the textures. And when you made that shawl, and I'm looking at the yarn, I'm like, she can't make that with that yarn. Yes, you can. And I didn't realize that. I didn't realize that you could do these things. So, Little John and we have a show coming out in next week, the 13th, and
Okay.
we're doing novelty
Congratulations.
yarn. I'm excited about it. And we're doing novelty yarn. I don't even know if I was supposed to say that or not, but we're doing novelty yarn.
It's out there.
And
Just don't post this video.
exactly, right? I won't post it. I won't post it. But I said I can appreciate novelty yarn now because of what I see you guys do. And when Shanti made the wall art, in my mind, I'm gonna be honest. I was like, I can appreciate it, but I can appreciate it more now because she showed the different textures.
Mm-hmm.
She showed how she was doing it. As we are on Zoom, she's like literally spinning it, and I could see it with my own eyes. And then I could see when she's finished and the final production is like, wow. And then it's so many different textures. I never appreciated anything like that before until I met you guys.
Aww.
And so that's what I want to teach others, because there's a lot of people that watch my shows and they just know crochet.
Yeah.
Not even knit, but just crochet, but not realizing that the different textures of yarn, you could use it for different types of things. So what is the, like, out of everything that you have done, fiber art, and what is the most fun for you?
You know, I've been asked this question a few times, and it's always really hard to choose because I only do what I like to do. So if I'm doing it, then that's my favorite thing to do in that moment.
At that moment.
You know? So it's really hard to choose overall. But on a day-to-day, like today, I had an order for a woven scarf. And it takes me about 2 days to make this particular scarf. And I was excited yesterday. And then today I had to finish it. And I was like, I think I did everything but work on that scarf. Because it wasn't my favorite thing to do today.
Right.
My favorite thing to do was to go hula hooping out in the park. So that's what
and
I did.
You can hula hoop. You could take, let me tell you something, okay? You could take someone who loves Menses. I love Menses. But I'm staring like, girl. And my admin Shay, she helps me sometimes with, like, doing my graphing and doing my pictures and stuff and helping me, and she's the moderator. And she's like, her legs. I'm like, Shay, concentrate. I love her freaking legs. Concentrate, girl, concentrate. But yeah, like it's more so. And then when I saw it for the first time, I think because I'm not really on Instagram like that. I'm not really on it. So when I saw the hula hoop thing, it was only because Fran, and I'm shouting Fran out. Fran mentioned how, it was beautiful. And I was like, they talk about beautiful. Let me go see what this is. And then I saw you hula hooping. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'm gonna get into my sexy hula hooping. I'm gonna get there. I'm gonna do it because
And
you
that
make me
that
want to.
that was another thing that, it's fun to do, but I didn't know that I could access it in that way until I saw someone else doing it. And it happened to be
Oh,
another Black woman, and I was at a jazz concert, and this queen was in the front, like right in front of the band, in the open space, hula
hula
hooping
hooping.
to the jazz band. And sister was getting it. Like, I didn't know you could do that with a hula hoop. And it seems so, normal once you see it. You're like, of course you can do that with a hula hoop. You
No, I
dance,
would have never thought of it.
but
I saw
I didn't know
you.
I didn't know it was possible until I saw
Yeah.
her. And then I was like, oh yeah, I'm about to be all about this, because anything that allows me, I've always been a creative. So anything that allows me to create, to express myself physically, to move my body, I'm all about it, because I feel like we create, that beautiful energy when we move our bodies, when we speak certain words, when we sing from the heart, when we do all these things. So any opportunity I can get to do that, to create these magical spells with my body, I'm all about it. So when I saw that, I was like, okay, this is my shit. And I did that probably every single day. It would be 6 hours at a time. Just I put the music on and just hit play and just dance and dance. And then
Wow.
you start to see all these different shapes that you can create with the hoop and with your body, and all these like different moves that you can do, with the hula hoop. And it's like, it's not just hula hooping anymore. It's like, it's an experience. So,
Yeah.
um, but again, I didn't know until I saw somebody do it. So that's why I love to put that kind of stuff out there. I don't think that I'm the greatest, by any means. I've seen a lot of people do way better than me as far as, technique and tricks and things like that. But I do it because it feels good. I do it because it's fun. And I love music and I love dance. So I remember I got a contract. That's another thing. I've always been a dancer, so that's what I did. I was in the circus for 16 years before this happened. So I was under contract for a theater production in Spain, and I was out there, and I was just hula hooping, just hula hooping in the streets. And out there, it was even more rare to see, just on the streets in Spain. And so I'm hula hooping, this little Black girl, in the sea of white folks, even though they're Spanish, they white over there. So I'm out there, and they're looking at me like, who is she? Because in Europe, if you Black, they think you African.
Oh, yeah.
Until you start talking. And me with my light skin, but they're like, okay, maybe her dad's French and her mom's African or something. But so they're looking at me like this weirdo, and I'm in my zone, I'm vibing, so I'm just dancing, and all of a sudden I start to hear this music, and I'm like, okay, somebody's playing music. This is great. I didn't realize that these Romani travelers, a lot of people know them as gypsies, but
Yeah.
the term gypsy is actually kind of a slur, so I don't like to use that
Okay.
word. But they're Romani tribes people, and they set up like behind me with their like makeshift instruments and stuff, and
Oh,
they're
wow.
playing and singing. And I don't know if you've ever heard like flamenco music or Spanish Romani music, where they're like they
Yeah.
got that like oh girl, I was like, this is happening. And so they're playing and I'm dancing. I kid you not, within 30 minutes there was a sea of like a couple hundred people just gathered all
Wow.
around,
Just
just
watching.
watching. And I'm just zoned out, like feeling the music. I danced until 6 a.m. The sun was coming up. It was a whole new day. and I was still dancing. It was
Wow.
so beautiful and so much fun. And it's like, to have that experience only because I was hula hooping. You know, if I was just walking down the street minding my business, that would have never happened. So it's
Right.
like learning these things, and you know, it gives you an opportunity to have new experiences. So whether it's hula hooping or crochet or weaving or whatever, you know, it will afford you, you know, new opportunities and new experiences to bless yourself and to bless others, you know. And it's easy because you just live your truth. You know, it was
Yeah.
something that felt good to me. So I was like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. And then I ended up having this wonderful, magical experience, you know. And that's kind of how I feel almost every time I make something new. I'm like, ooh,
A
like,
magical experience, right?
exactly. It's a magical experience. So
Wow. Speaking of magical experience, you just said that you worked in the circus. How was that? Was that fun, or was it like something that you did for work or
that was how I fed my baby. Um,
okay.
it was my life for quite some time. When I was younger, I told my mom that I wanted to run away with the circus, and when I was able to do so, that's exactly what I
That's what
did.
you did. I wouldn't even know where to go to even look for a circus to run away with.
Believe me, it was challenging because once again there was no internet. So it took a lot of phone calls, a lot of showing up and being told no, especially, you know, a young Black girl. They're like, get, get, go, you could sweep up, you know, like we need some help with, like, maybe you could sew some costumes or something, but no, we're not putting you on stage. And I'm very, very grateful for, there was a woman that I met actually in Atlanta, and she runs a circus school in Atlanta. And she had been running this school, I think, since like the 70s or 80s or something like that. It's been quite a long time. And she was a former circus performer. And I hooked up with her and just soaked it all up. You know, I stayed there, I lived there, I cleaned up the space, I, you know, turned the lights on to get everybody started and turned them all off when it was time to go. I used every opportunity I could to just soak up, because again, I didn't have any money, I didn't have any, you know.
Right.
So I'm like, please help me, you know, like, please, sir, can I have some more? You know, like,
Yeah.
teach me. Um, but after that, I just kind of took it and went off on my own. And when I'm from Detroit, and living in Detroit, having 6 or 7 hustles is like normal. That's like everyday life. So when I got back to Detroit, I just hustled, you know, and I
Yeah.
hustled myself. And I'm like, look, I can do this, I can do that, I can do this, I can do that, you know. And what I didn't know, I just made up, you know. I'm like, they don't know. I'm just gonna tell
Yeah.
them. That's what I do. Yeah, I do that too. And then you just make the shit up as you go. In fact, my very first show that I got in Detroit, well, my very first belly dance show that I got in Detroit was off a lie. I met this guy in the bar, and he made some comment about dancers. And I was like, oh, yeah, I'm a belly dancer. And he's like, oh, really? I saw this belly dancer in this movie. I think he was talking about Dawn of the Dead. And she was dancing with a snake, and she had swords and da 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 da. And I'm like, yep, I do that too. No,
You
damn
didn't
well,
say
I
that.
didn't do that. I didn't do that at all.
But did you ever dance with a snake? Because
Yes.
I saw the picture.
So that's how that came about. So he said to me, "Oh, you do that? Well, I got a job for you." And he's like, "I'll pay you $250 to do this show." And to me, like at that time, this, you know, $250. I'm like, heck yeah, that's like a light bill, and we could eat
Yeah.
good for a couple weeks, you know.
Back
So
then, yeah.
so I was like, yep, sure, I'll take the gig. And I left there with my friend, and I'm like, how am I going to pull this off? Like, I'm either going to have to lie my ass off when I show up without a snake, or I'm gonna have to find a snake. I went on Craigslist and I was searching for people with snakes. I put a thing out on I can't remember what the name of that platform was, but MySpace. That's what it was before, back in the day.
MySpace, yeah.
So I put a call out on MySpace and I'm like, anybody who has a snake, contact me, blah, blah, blah. So I finally got a hold of somebody's cousin's girlfriend's brother's girlfriend.
Okay.
So I show up to this lady's house and she has an 8-foot python. And I mean, this thing is like this thick around, 8 feet long. It's huge. I've never touched a snake in a day of my life. Never. Let alone dance with one. So I have to go in here and I'm like, oh yeah. I've touched snakes before. I've held snakes before. Yep. She put that snake on my shoulders and everything in me wanted to jump out of my skin. But at the same time, there was something that felt really nice about it too. When it started moving and you can feel the scales like gripping your skin as it's like crawling across you and everything. And, it squeezes so it can hold on to your body so it doesn't fall like you were a tree in the jungle. So I'm allowing this to happen. And, we were all good. So I was like, okay, do you mind? I can pay you $50, to let me use your snake, da, da, da. She's like, oh yeah, sure. I'll come with you. I just want to make sure my snake's okay. Da, 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 da.
Yeah.
Okay, great. She comes. I do the show. Girl, I did the show of a lifetime. I looked like, just some kind of like, African goddess coming out of the you know what I mean? It was just like, it was something spectacular that nobody had ever seen. So I'm in my belly dance outfit. I got this snake. I'm doing all the moves and they got this beautiful music playing for me. And I'm like, got a skirt with a slit all the way up to my belly button. And, I'm doing it. And they lost their shit. And so from then on, that was my show. So I had to go and find some snakes. So I went to a reptile convention and I bought like 5 snakes.
Okay.
That was the birth of my snake dancing. And I did that for probably, I want to say like 11 years. And my last snake, she passed away. Because after a while, you really connect with them. They're like your babies, And she passed away. And after that, I didn't want to get another snake because that really hit me hard. She was like my baby. She was like perfect. Anytime somebody would snap a picture, she would pose and stop. Like, it was as if she knew exactly what was going on. I would be doing, shimmies or hip rolls, and she would hold on to my waist just perfectly. So, it would produce like these beautiful pictures and silhouettes and things like that. She was amazing. And when she passed away, I was like, I'm done.
Yeah.
And then I started fire eating. And so
I saw that.
Just keep going.
I saw that. Did you learn that in the school you went to in Atlanta, or you just did that on your own?
No, I taught myself how to eat fire. I am very proud of that because
what?
there was nobody that I knew at the time that was doing that, and I didn't know where to go. I didn't know where to look. There was YouTube by this time. So I looked up on YouTube this lady eating fire. She was in Canada. And I contacted her to see if I could come and get lessons from her, but she never responded. So I was like, I'll learn how to do it myself. Yeah, I burned myself a lot. There were a lot of accidents, a lot of trial and error. But I figured it out, and that became part of my act for a number of years as well. In fact, I still do it, just not on the same scale that I do before, especially now with the pandemic going on.
Yeah,
hiring for that kind of stuff. But that went into like fire hula hoops, into fire swords and fire headdresses,
What?
fire
You
belly
be
dance belts.
doing it.
Like, I was like, what else can we set on fire? Like, let's just put everything on fire and dance with it. So yeah. But
What?
with fire, you have to have certain licenses and insurance and things like that. So it was a little bit more challenging to get the fire jobs for smaller gigs. So that's when I started doing the hula hooping, because it was something that I can do that didn't require any licensing. Because the other thing I did was the aerial. And with the aerial, you're literally like hooked up to someone's ceiling. So there's special rigging, special licenses, special insurance, and all of that. Because when you do those drops, you could, number one, you could fall and hurt yourself.
Right.
And number two, you could rip someone's ceiling out. So you had to make sure that everything was rated, and you had to have a professional rigger come in and test everything and do all that. And unless it was a really big show, some people didn't want to pay for that kind of stuff. So I was like, let me see what else I can do that doesn't require all of this extra stuff. So it was mostly belly dancing and the hula hooping. But aerial and fire were like that's all I did for years and years and years was aerial and fire.
I knew that you were like adventurous, free spirit, like have a beautiful soul. Just by us talking that Saturday, well, on Saturdays, just by, you just have a voice that's like calming. So even if I'm in a rage and I'm listening to you, I'm like, okay, I'm calm. I'm okay.
Aww, thank you.
Yes, I'm serious. And a lot of times, well, the past month I was going through a lot. So when you come in, the ladies, the zoomies, we call each other zoomies. The zoomies, would always try to help me and whatever. But you would come in like after the fact, and you would just talk real calm and just, and I'm like, oh, this is so, and I'm just crocheting. This is so peaceful. This is so peaceful. Like, I feel like I should have my inside voice when I'm around you.
That is something that I've learned from my grandmother and my father, was the ability to create your own space and your own bubble, and you'll find that when you do that, people tend to match your energy, so that I prefer an energy of peace and calm, for the most part. I can, tear shit up and do all that when I want to, but for the most part, on a regular basis, I like peace and calm and ease. And you can still have fun and laugh and joke and talk shit or whatever you want to do within that space, but I really like that energy. That's what works for me, so I try to keep that in my bubble. And sometimes people can match that, but what I often find is that if they can't, they usually disappear. They get rid of themselves, which makes it even more easy for me because I don't have to give. Yeah.
They're uncomfortable, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, exactly. It's like when you're arguing and yelling and screaming and fussing and doing all this, and the person is just like, okay, all right. Like, you can only argue with yourself for so long. If the other person is not engaging you or not matching your energy or feeding into your energy, it's got to stop at some point, so that's kind of, I don't know. And I've my dad and my grandmother have always been that way, so it wasn't something that I learned, as a tool. It's just been a part of my life, because my dad is 74, I think. I don't remember. But I've never heard him raise his voice. Not one time.
Wow.
Entire life. Never. I've heard him
Wow.
curse maybe a handful of times, and even then it was like, damn, all right. Like something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
And but other than that, never heard him raise his voice. I can tell when he's mad, just by his body language, and he gets very, very quiet. But never heard him raise his voice ever. So,
Wow.
yeah, it helps.
It does. So I'm a Pisces. So I always say, because I'm a Pisces, I'm very creative, I'm sensitive, I'm all of this and I'm all of that. Then I realize I have a little of my mama, where I could get very loud and very, I'm
Hmm.
not gonna say ghetto, but sometimes another side come out.
Right, right.
Another side come out. And so I use that as this platform, because this platform, I want the real Shauna to come out. I don't want to fake the funk. I just want to be me
Right.
and use my creative juices to help other people. And that's what I like about the people who I ask to come on here, because everybody have their own identity and everyone have their own uniqueness about them. And with you, you just blew my mind, because it's way more. Like yesterday, we spoke to someone who made a crochet song, and she crochets and she's a songwriter. And
Nice.
it's like Miss Peachy, she does the yarn dyeing, and I had other people who talked about their business, but you blow my mind, because it's way more to it. It's more like a mind, a body, and a soul.
Sorry.
Yeah, right. It's more to it than just the creativity that you're bringing us. You're bringing us more than just creativity. You're bringing us something that we can all think about, something that I don't know. With you, I think of like your mind, your body, and your soul.
Yeah, yeah.
Your spirit, your free
And
spirit.
and for me, they're all one and the same. So, um, that's why I've always done the things that I've done. Like I said, when we first started, I only do what I want to do. Um, and so when I was young, I decided I didn't want to work. So I said, okay, I don't want to work. I don't want to work for anything. I don't want to work for money. I don't want to work for love. I don't want to work for acceptance. I don't want to
Right.
work for any of that shit. I believe that I'm deserving and worthy of all of those things. And so I'll just um, focus on putting myself in the space to receive that. And that was way more fun for me. So I found that and you hear this all the time, when you truly love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life and all that kind of stuff, which is easy to say when, you're not hungry, you know. Um, and believe me, I've been hungry. I've
Yeah, I've been there
I've
too.
been homeless.
Yeah.
I've lived in my car. I had
Yeah.
to, send my son away for a little bit until I got back on my feet. Um, at, and I think I told you guys this a little while ago. I was a stripper. I danced.
Yeah.
I was in the clubs for probably like 4 years
Mhm.
until I made enough money to start my business. But even that wasn't work for me. I was probably the most stuck up stripper in the club.
Stuck up.
I just, it was, when you work in the club, there's unspoken rules, and there's things that you do as a dancer. There's a way that you behave as a dancer for the most part. And to make your money, there's things that you got to do. Well, again, I don't want to work, so I avoided all of those things. I would come in and I would order my little shrimp scampi and my hot tea. And I would sit there and eat my food because I work day shift. I never work, well, there's a few times I work night shift for like parties and stuff, but I only work day shift because I had my son. and I needed to be available to pick him up after school. So I would come in and it would be about 11 o'clock or whatever. And I'd order my shrimp scampi and my tea, and I'd sit there and I'd watch CNN on the big screen and eat my food. And when it was time for me to go on stage, I went on stage and I did the damn thing. But when I was up there, it was all about me,
Yeah.
like, this is for me. This ain't for y'all, So I would get up there and I would do my thing. And I always had, I tipped the DJ extra. So he would always play from my CD, all my songs, my special songs. And I would just zone out and I'd be grinding on the floor and touching myself and doing all kinds of stuff and just loving on me. And half the time guys would have to be like, hey, excuse me. They would actually have to say something because they'd be standing there with their little money and I don't even see them because I'm so in love with myself.
Yeah.
I'm not even paying any attention. I'm like, oh, okay. Grab the money and then go on back to loving on me. And then again, there's these little unspoken behaviors, but when a guy tips you on stage, typically when you get off stage, you go and see, if he wants to dance or if you can get more money out of him. I get off stage and go back to my shrimp scampi.
Not you.
I'm like, he gave me $5. I ain't going to see what he's talking about. I'm going back to my shrimp scampi. But what ended up happening for me is because of the way I carried myself, because I didn't drink alcohol. That was another thing. Guys would always buy you drinks, buy the girls drinks, but I would always decline. I don't drink. But you can pay my tip out if you want to do something, things like that. But just the way that I carry myself, the way that I spoke, I ended up with a handful of clients. And all of these clients were doctors, lawyers, businessmen, things like that. So they would bring clients in for lunch, or they would come in with their colleagues for lunch. And I would sit there and have a conversation with them. I would talk to them about my travels, about, different places in the world. We would talk about politics. I would, talk about, current events and things like that. And they're like, what are you doing here?
I know, right?
But because I wasn't trying to push up on them and have this mindset of, I need to get money out of you,
Yeah.
They gravitated towards me. It was more like, well, she act like she don't need me. She act like she don't want my money. Let me see what's going on here. Why won't you take my money? And then you're like, okay, fine, I'll take your money. Thank you. Bye. But
I can relate to that. Yeah.
Anything that you focus on and you like chase after and all of that, it continues to run away from you, But when you just relax and just live your truth and love on yourself, and
I can relate.
I'm so busy loving me, they're wondering, well, damn, she's so in love with herself. Maybe I need to find out what's so special about herself.
Yeah.
Because maybe I'm missing out. She ignoring me to pay attention to herself. She must be pretty damn special.
That's absolutely true.
I was fortunate during the time that I was working. I built up a handful of clients, and they would show up. They would have lunch. They would, pay me a couple hundred each to sit there and have lunch and talk. They never got dances because most of them were married or going back to the office, so they didn't want our Bath and Body Works spray.
I know, right?
Spray all over themselves. So, they would give me whatever, and I walked out of there with enough to pay my bills for the month.
Nice.
So it was like, it was fine. And I started saving, and as soon as I saved up to my goal, I think it was like 14 grand or something like that, whatever I needed to start my business. Once I got that, I left, and I actually went back to the club that I used to work at like a year later. I remember I was leaving. It was my last day. And one of the bouncers, I said, it's my last day, y'all. I'm leaving, peace out. And the guy says, oh, you'll be back. They always come back. And I was like, you don't know me. So I actually went back. And when I went back, he was still there. And he was like, see, I told you you'll always come back. Da, 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 da. And I was like, well, this time I'm making triple the amount of money I made before, and I'm keeping my clothes on. And I actually did, they were having a circus theme event, and they wanted circus performers. And so I went back to the same club, but for one night, but I was in a totally different capacity. I was doing aerial and fire eating, and it was great. But you know,
Wow.
to me, there's no shame, in what I do or what I've done. Once again, I do what I want. So
Absolutely.
that's what I wanted to do. And I did that. And I'm very proud of what I did, especially the way that I did it, because I did it on my terms. Um, it was unfortunate to see a lot of my sisters in there, under a pimp or under the
Mm.
influence, or, you know, all these different things. And I, it was really sad to see, and you do what you can to help, but I was really happy that I went in there the way that I did, and I carried myself the way that I did, and I was able to get out the way that I did, because
Right.
there were people there that had been there since they were 18 and they were in their 40s. And
Wow.
that's just their life, and that might be okay for them. There's nothing,
Yeah.
again, there's nothing wrong with that if that's what you do. um but it wasn't for me. It wasn't the atmosphere that I wanted to stay in. So when I got my money, I got out and I started my business doing exactly what I really wanted to do. So yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. I know that you are where did you get the name Prima Witch from?
So, yeah, so I am a witch. I do consider myself a witch. I know that today that word is a little bit nicer than it used to be.
Mhm.
It's not as dirty as it used to be. I come from a family of witches. So that was never anything weird or strange or terrible to me. But I did have to keep that to myself. It wasn't something, that you proclaim to the world, at least not back then. But now it's a little bit nicer. Now everybody's a witch.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful thing. Um, but so that's where obviously witch is witch. And as far as my understanding and my way of practicing, a witch is simply using nature and energy to manifest change in your life, whatever that may be. And there's like millions of different ways to be a witch, because it's an individual practice. It's a familial practice, so maybe whatever your grandparents did, you might do, or you might find some stuff on your own that works for you. But it's a very personal practice. So whatever, using energy or nature in whatever capacity to create and manifest change in your life, whatever that change might be, um, is witchcraft. So even spell casting or spell crafting, um, back in the day, was just simply speaking. You know, if you say, I hate you, I hope you die, well, that's a spell. You just cast it upon that person's energy field. You
Gotcha.
know, back in the day when our grandparents say, stop acting like you sick, or stop playing. You don't play with wheelchairs. You don't play with
Yes.
crutches. You don't, because all of that is sending a signal out to an energetic signal out to the universe that, oh,
Mhm.
she's playing with crutches, so she must be hurt. Well, she's
Yeah.
not hurt, so let's make sure she gets hurt, so that everything can be in alignment. Because our universe is always seeking equilibrium. So if you're out of that, then it's going to do whatever it needs to do to get you back into that, which is why, you hear a lot of people talking about, using your words to create your your world. Don't say negative things, using affirmations every day, praying, all these different things. Praying, I mean, how long has that been around?
Mm-hmm.
People do that in different religions or religious practices. And it's just simply putting that out to the universe, to the source, to God, to whatever you want to call your source, and asking for that to be, received back onto you. So it's all spell crafting, it's all witchcraft, it's all manifesting, it's all creation. How whatever word, whatever label you want to put on it is what it is for you. It's all the same stuff. We just have different names.
It is. I do well, especially when I first started this, the podcast and this setting. I always told everyone I practice law of attraction because I noticed my words, I used to say I can't or I'm tired. I used to say a lot of things that used to happen to me and it were not great things. But once I started following law of attraction, and my bestie, my girlfriend, she tells me never say that you are broke because you're not broken. So stop
Yeah.
saying you're broke.
Yeah.
So I stopped and I started saying temporarily out of funds. I I don't remember ever saying that since she told me that.
That's
Since she told
awesome.
me that, I have never been able to say that. If I am temporarily out of funds, I swear to you, like the next day, I have funds. So I manifest the words that are coming out of my mouth and it happens. But it just took one day.
Yeah.
One day I just said to myself, I can't do this anymore. And I really needed to change my ways and change my words, change my actions. And it happened. My business got better. Then all of a sudden I had this. And I said I never wanted to do YouTube. I never wanted to do nothing. And it just happened. One day it just happened. So I definitely believe in your words, and even if it's a spellcraft or whatever you want to call it, I definitely believe your words are very powerful.
Absolutely.
Very, very, very
I
powerful.
mean, even I didn't grow up in the Christian practice, but I do know I think in the beginning of the Bible when God created the world with the power of the word, right? Isn't there something like that, like let there be light and there was light, or
Yep.
so if that's how what you believe, and I'm only using Christianity because it's the most
Most,
popular,
yeah.
yeah, then why can't why can't you call light into existence in your world? Why can't you create an earth in your own space? So I agree with you. It's very powerful. Very, very
It is.
powerful.
So I'm gonna share some of your photos.
Oh, you know what? I we got backwards. So that was the witch. The prema part is
Oh,
prema actually is a Sanskrit word. It means divine love. And it was the first mantra that I received when I was very young. My mother woke us up at like 4 a.m. every day for our prayers and chanting mantras and sitting at the altar and all these different things that we had going on in our house. And that was the first mantra that I received when I was younger, and it's aham prema, and you would just chant this over and over and over again. And it just means I am divine love, I am divine love, I am divine
wow.
love. And so that's what I learned when I was younger, and so that's who I am. That's a part of me, is that prema, that divine love. So prema, which is witch of divine love. So that's how that
Oh,
ties.
that's so dope. The other thing about that is you said that your family practice. It was your mom and your dad and your whole entire family in your household,
Not
or
my entire family. I did not grow up with my father in the house. He was very much a part of my life, but they divorced when I was very young. So this was mostly my mother. I didn't get things from my grandmother until much later because in her time, it was not even um, a nasty word to use, witch, but it was a dangerous word to use. Back in her day, if you were called a witch, you could, easily come to harm because of the fear that was ingrained, into people at that time about witchcraft or voodoo, all these different practices. So if you even looked like you were mixing some herbs or you said something under your breath or whatever the case may be, somebody, oh, she's a witch. She's a witch. She's doing all this because which was not a good thing. You could only be doing things of evil and darkness and, all these horrible things if you were a witch. There was no positivity in it at all. So you had to be very quiet about that. And because that's how she grew up and possibly even how her mom grew up, she wasn't very open, even when it was just us. So I didn't find out things or learn things until I was much older with her. So it was mostly my mom when I first was my first experience. My first practices were learned when I was little, and you're little, you're in elementary school, and your mom's waking you up at 3-4 o'clock in the morning to go sit at the altar and chant or pray or whatever, and you're like, oh my god, this is the stupidest thing ever, I just want to go to bed. But as you get older and you start to see different things play out, different things start to make sense, like, why is she rubbing this egg all over me, and then you're like, oh, okay, that's what that is. Or why do I have to take a bath with these stupid flowers, and then when you get older, you're like, oh, some stuff was happening earlier today at work. I don't want to bring that home. I need to take a bath with them flowers, So it kind of became a thing as I got older. And then especially when I had my own son, I wanted to pass all that down to him. And he took to it like a fish out. I think he'd been here before, like at least a few times, because he was very interested right from jump. I never had to ask. I never had to push. He was like, I'm learning these Egun prayers. I'm, learning these chants. I'm, doing these meditations. I mean, even today he's 19 and he'll call me and he's like, Mom, I just found this new meditation and da, da, da. You got to do it for like 2 hours. I'm going to do it for 40 days and see what happens and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay,
Oh, wow.
So it's like all these different, things came about when I had my own son. I'm like, okay, now I'm starting to remember the things that I was taught before and the practices. And, you become another person when you have a child because you want to become the best version of yourself so that they can pick up on that. So it was a blessing for me because it reignited all of that in me. So like, okay, now I got to get up every morning. I got to set an example. He has to hear me praying. He has to hear me chanting. He has to, see that when something goes wrong, I don't get upset, but I go, and talk to our ancestors and, light candles and do whatever and blah, blah, blah. And then, he'll see all that and see the positive outcome of all of that and be like, oh, okay, maybe I'll try that. Because you never, again, it's a personal practice. So you never want to push anybody into it or force it or say my way is the right way or any of that, So I was really happy that he took to it because it made life a little bit easier. I didn't have to push him. He'd wake his own self up at 5 a.m. or 4 a.m. to go and pray. So
wow, that's because of the way you did it. You did it and not forced him, because a lot of Christians, I'm going to say Christians or even Catholics, a lot of us, because I'm going to say myself included, we were forced to wake up every single Sunday, and then you go to Sunday school, then you got to go to Bible study, and then you got to go to choir practice. So you're forced to do all of this instead of living the example. And I'm gonna say that because sometimes I did not have that example. Sometimes, they would say you have to go to school, you have to go do this, you have to do that, but they didn't do it all the time themselves. So the fact that you did it and it was repetitious thing and your son saw it, that's a great way. I think that is the reason why he adapted to it more, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, and it's a lot. Well, it was for me. It was a lot easier to live by example than it was to, lead by force, because that's a lot of work, a lot of energy, a lot of expectation, a lot of unfulfilled, hopes and dreams and all these different things. Like, oh, I
Yeah.
want my kid to be like this. I want him to do this. So I'm going to push him and do this and do that. And we forget that our children are humans first.
Yeah.
They don't belong to us. They're not ours. We're simply in charge of, helping them along the way. That is our only job. You cannot, force anybody to do anything. But we look at our children because they're young and they don't know and all of that. Well, we got to get in there and tell them what to do and tell them this and tell them that. And you need to do this, you need to do that. No, you need to be this way. Don't be that way. When we rarely stop and ask them who they are, who they think they are, who they want to be, what it is that they want to do, how they see themselves, what makes them happy, what makes them sad, what don't they like, and
So happy you saying that because that's something I didn't get, but that's something I did. This is
mm-hmm,
something I do. I have two boys. One is 21 and one is 11. And whatever I'm learning from the 21-year-old, I'm trying to do with the 11-year-old. But it's one thing I do always ask, like, what do you want to do? What is it
mm-hmm.
that you feel? When he asks me certain things, like, should he get the shot? What do you feel? You're 21 now. Like,
Yeah.
you can't ask mommy. I need to know, what do you want to do? What
Mm-hmm.
do you feel? Why do you want to take it, or why don't you want to take it? So I'm so glad you said that because that's something I do, and I actually question myself sometimes. Like, his father used to say, he's the child, but he has feelings too.
Absolutely. He's a human being. He is a person. He is a sovereign spirit, and if you go against that, that's when you have these, rebellions and these, issues and attitudes and all these different things, to where then you're put in a position of, okay, do I need to beat him? Do I need to start taking stuff away and punishing him? And then you've gone into a whole nother realm of negativity, which can traumatize or have lasting effects, whether it be something as simple as, them carrying that mark on their spirit,
Yeah,
um, or all the way up to now they become abusers themselves later on in life. We don't know how that plays out. My point is, it is not necessary.
yeah,
When when somebody feels heard, when they feel relevant, when they are validated, when their feelings are allowed to be expressed and felt and not judged, you see a totally different person. you know
yes.
yes, we have some people out here that need their ass whooped. Yes, we got some kids out here that need their ass whooped. But where does that come from? Where did that start?
Right.
Because I started with my son before he got here. You know, I prayed for him. I told my source exactly what I wanted in a child, who I wanted in a child, what type of person, I wanted to, excuse me,
Bless you. Bless you.
what type of person I wanted to help guide and raise. I wanted someone who was open minded, was creative, was a caring, loving soul, somebody who would be open to spirituality and metaphysics and things like that, somebody that I could share with and all these different
Right.
things. And I started that before he was born. And then when he was in my womb, I prayed. There's two specific mantras. One is for inviting a enlightened soul to come into your womb. Another one is to just illuminate the light within that soul. So I prayed those two mantras every single day while I was pregnant. While I was pregnant, I only wore specific colors. There were some colors I completely stayed away from because of the energy of those colors. There were people I completely stayed away from. I only ate certain foods. Um, I only let certain things into my body. I only let certain people into my space. There were certain things I didn't even watch on television. My music
Oh, wow.
changed, everything, because I took it upon myself as this is my job. This is what I wanted. I wanted the role as a guide for this soul to come into this world and have the best experience possible. The least I can do is make these changes within myself to receive this blessing. And so he was loved. He was a blessing. He was, shaped and all of that before he even got here. So then when he did come out, I just continued that same practice, because I
Right.
saw him as this being. I didn't see him as this child that didn't know anything and I got to tell him everything to do, and it's my job to insert myself into his life and my beliefs and all of this into his life. I accepted him for who he was. And so asking him, who are you? What do you want? What would you like to do? And again, also remembering that he is a child. So you give him these things, in a safe space. So what would you like to eat tonight? We have this and we have this. These are your two choices. So he still gets a choice, but he ain't gonna ask for no damn cookies and ice cream
Right.
for dinner.
Right.
You can have salmon, you can have, this mushroom concoction, whatever you want. These are the options. Feel free to choose. When he got upset, when he was angry, another thing I hear all the time, and it just hurts my heart, is people telling their kids, stop all that crying, stop acting, stop being mad, fix your face, all this kind of stuff. And so they're never allowed to express themselves. They're never allowed to feel the feelings of pain, of sadness, of whatever, because we cut them off from that. And so it builds up and it comes out in other ways, whether it be behavioral issues or they bully other kids, whether it be their sisters and brothers or kids at school, or, maybe they just withdraw completely and they become, a little bit more angsty, all these different things because they're unable to express themselves, unable to let that out and to feel heard and say, okay,
Right.
I understand that you're upset that mommy won't let you eat a whole box of Skittles. However, this is what we're going to do. You are more than welcome to feel these feelings and to be upset. But in this space, this is a space of peace. This is a space of happiness. This is a space of joy. So if you need to leave that space to have that experience, feel free to go and do that. Go to your room. You can punch a pillow. You can turn some music on. You can cry. You can do whatever it is you want. And when you're done, when you feel like you've gotten all that out and you're expressed, come back to the happy place and you can join the rest of us, because what you're not going to do is destroy this happy space with your anger because you're upset. But you are allowed to feel those feelings. You are a human. You are allowed to express those feelings.
Well, where were you when my son was like little? I didn't say all of that. I said what I was told. And what I was told was exactly what you said. Like, stop that crying. Like, stop this, stop that. What changed my behavior towards my kids and is because I did not want that to keep happening. It's almost like a generational curse.
Yeah,
We need
absolutely.
to stop the generational curse.
Absolutely.
And that's what made me stop it, because I noticed it was a pattern that kept happening over and over and over again. So I noticed I would say certain things. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, I did say stop that crying, or stop being a baby, or stop doing this, or stop doing that.
Mhm.
The older I got, the more I realized I have boys, and it's okay to cry.
Absolutely.
It's okay.
Absolutely.
And I tell them,
Absolutely. It's
it's okay.
okay to cry. It's okay to express yourself. It's okay to talk about your feelings. All of
Yes.
these things, but then we get these men, we get these husbands, we get these boyfriends, and they don't want to talk about shit. They don't want to communicate. They don't want to express themselves. They won't tell you what's
Yep.
happening in their head. They, they're holding on to pain and trauma because they've never cried, and we
Right.
wonder why. We wonder why.
Yeah.
If we instill that from the very beginning, if you put shit in, what do you think is going to come out? Rainbows ain't going to come out when you put shit in. Shit's going to
Yeah.
come out, you
We
know?
we're just doing basically what we were taught, what we went through, thinking that's the right way. Like, I still hear nowadays that people, and I just had this conversation with my girlfriend about this, about parents who beat their kids. I don't have to beat my kids. I don't. And I hear it's not wrong with beating your kids. I don't have to, though.
Mhm.
I don't have to.
Right.
I
It's
can
almost
talk to
like
my
it's
kids.
it's a thing like you supposed to, or if you don't, something's wrong. Like, like almost like it's a rite of passage to get your butt whooped with a switch or something. And like I said earlier, there are some kids and some people that need an ass whooping. However, what led up to that? I I would I would probably, feel comfortable saying that that could have been avoided had there been, a different foundation laid from the very start. You don't start, having these conversations or allowing your children to be who they are when they're like teenagers. It's too late. You don't start to have that disciplinary energy when they're like 11 and 12. It's too late.
Yeah.
When my son was 2 months old and he would grab my glasses or grab my necklace or something like that, I'd tap his little hand. And we don't do that. 2 months.
Mhm.
By the time he was 2 years old, all I had to do was look at Miguel, and he would stop and just sit.
Mhm.
He didn't know what he did. He didn't know what was happening. He just heard mommy say his
Yep.
name, and he knew, okay, whatever it was, I'm just gonna stop everything and sit down. You
Yep.
know, and I never had to do any of that because you set the foundation from the start. Um, you trying to, they're 2 and 3 or whatever. Oh, it's okay. Oh, that's fine. Oh, he's just a baby.
Mm-mm.
then
No.
then you're then you then you're faced with the issue of having to whoop his ass when he's 8 years old because he's
Yes.
still doing the same stuff he was doing when he was 2, when you thought it was cute, or when he was 8 months old and you thought it was cute. And I'm not saying you gotta, don't be, slapping your 8-month old. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
for me, like, my baby at 2, 3 months old would grab things or do things, and I, just to get his attention. And no, we're not doing that. And they don't know the words, but they know the energy. They know mommy's face changed,
Yeah, that you'll be
and
surprised with,
there's an energy behind
yeah.
that, and we don't like that energy. So
Yeah.
if me grabbing her glasses causes her to give me that type of energy, I don't want that. I'm not going to do that anymore. And he
Right.
stopped real quick. And so it was really easy to discipline him. So when he was 8 and 9 years old and decided he didn't want to eat his sandwiches at school anymore, so he started hiding them under his bed. And I went in his room and found 26 molded ass sandwiches under his bed.
What you do? What you
Then
do?
we had the talk, like, okay, you know, in my heart, I was like, this motherfucker. You know, because I'm like, I'm out here taking my damn clothes off so you can eat fucking bologna sandwiches. You're stuffing them up under the bed. So I was angry, you know, but I knew that I looked at any time that there was a need for disciplinary action, it was an opportunity, you know, for me to teach. It was not an opportunity for me to release my anger, because that, and this is just my opinion, I'm just speaking for myself. I in no way, shape, or form speak for anybody else or criticize the way people raise their children. This is strictly for me. For me, if I whoop you in that moment, it is simply so that I can feel better. It doesn't teach you anything. I'm spanking you because I'm angry at what you did. And so I'm releasing my anger, I'm releasing my emotion against you by hitting you because I'm upset. You pissed me off. You did something I didn't like. I told you not to do this and you did it anyway. So now I'm angry and I'm going to take that anger out on you. It does not teach anything but fear. That's all it teaches. So for me, it was not an opportunity to release that anger. I went and meditated. I went and had a nice cup of tea. I think I even took a nap, actually, because I was really pissed off. And then I came back and I called him into my room and I'm like, okay, I this is what I found. This is what's happening. I'm not even going to give you an opportunity to lie to me because I already know what you did. So there's no point in asking you. What I really want to know is, why did you do this? You know, did you not like the sandwiches? You know, because when children do crazy shit like that, there's no logic. There is none. You can ask them 20 ways till Sunday, why did you do this and all this? And they'll come up with, well, I don't know. Or, you know, it's never going to be an answer that's satisfactory because there is no logic. So there's no point in even putting them in that position to piss you off even more by giving you dumb answers. So we're not even going to go there. What I want to know is, you know, did you not like the sandwiches? Like, what's going on? And I say things in a way that he feels safe to actually give me the truth. Because another thing is, we usually attack our children. You know, we're like, why did you do this? What the fuck is wrong with you? How did you know? And are you going to tell the truth in a space like that? No, you're going to say whatever's.
I do the same with my youngest. Yeah, my youngest, I'm like
whatever it takes to get out of that situation. And with that little baby brain of theirs, it ain't much. It's always something dumb, you know. So it's like, it's gonna be a lie. It's gonna be some dumb stuff. So don't even put them in that position or yourself in that position to get pissed off. Let's talk about this. And again, I've done all my work. I've meditated. I took a nap. I had some tea. I talked to my ancestors, like, okay, how do I, you know, give me the strength, you know, and I go into the situation and create a safe space. I'm calm. I'm let him know, look, I am upset. You're not in trouble. What I need to know is, how do we get beyond this? Because me spanking him isn't going to make those sandwiches go away. Me spanking him is not going to give me the money back from those sandwiches. So because there's nothing I can do to change that situation, there's no point in giving it any energy.
Right.
We are here right now today. Let's move forward. We can't go backwards. It's physically, energetically impossible. So how do we go forward so that this doesn't happen again? Tell mommy what's going on. Come to find out, he didn't like bologna.
Oh, he just had to tell you.
He didn't like bologna, and he was afraid to tell me because I told him, and this is the craziest thing, and this is what you find out when you allow your children to actually speak to you and you create a safe space so that they feel heard. He told me I think there was like a story or something I told him about when I was younger and we used to eat fried bologna sandwiches and I thought it was the greatest thing in the world. And I love me some fried bologna sandwiches and all this kind of stuff. And so when I bought him bologna, He thought that if he told me he didn't like bologna, that it would hurt my feelings.
What? That sounds
Now,
like my son.
now think about that, right?
Yes.
You pissed because you find like 30 damn sandwiches under this bed, and you like, oh no, he about to get his ass whooped for this. Like, you done wasted my money and it's stinking here. Like, no. And come to find out, it was just because he didn't like bologna and he didn't want to tell me because
He
he
didn't want to.
hurt my
Yeah.
feelings. And I'm about to come in here and beat him for that.
That's just like my little one.
You don't know until you allow them a safe space to be honest with you and to tell you the truth. And what happens is when that becomes common practice, you don't have to worry about it. They will start to come to you ahead of time.
Right.
And that's what, he decided at 11 that he didn't want to go to bed at 8 o'clock anymore. So he came to me and said, Mom, I'm a little older. I think I should have a later bedtime, blah, 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 blah. Negotiated his whole thing. He wasn't staying up later without my permission, none of that. He decided that's what he wanted to do. So to get what he wanted, he came and spoke to me and stated his case as to why he should be allowed to do this and the benefits, or whatever he thought the benefits were. He could get more homework done, whatever it was. And I said, okay, you came to me like that. You were honest. You stated a case. You seemed like you thought it out pretty well before you came to me. Sure, you can stay up, till 9 o'clock now. But the moment I wake you up and you give me a hard time, you going back to bed at 8. And no problem. He started going to bed at 9 or 9:30. I can't remember when it was. He woke up before me. He actually started setting his alarm on his own to wake himself up because he knew that if he got caught not waking up, or hemming and hawing or sighing or whatever, when I woke him up, he was going back to 8. So he did what he needed to do. He started to self-regulate, but again, that it takes effort. You don't get days off. You don't have moments where you've had a rough day and you're tired, and so you don't want to have these conversations. You allow yourself to be emotional instead of logical with your little one. You don't get days off like that as a mom, and it's unfortunate because sometimes you do need that. So another thing for me is teaching my son to have self-care days, self-care time, personal space. Because when I teach him to do that for himself, I get my own time. He's in his room journaling, listening to his music. So guess what? I get to go take a bubble bath and, deep condition my hair in silence because he's doing his self-care. Because, now he sees, okay, this is important. This is a special time. This is what we do. And now it's kind of funny because he has a girlfriend, and I don't want to put his business out there because it's not mine to give, but I'll just say that he started to do little things for her and with her. And she actually said to him, like, who are you? Like, this isn't real. Aww. This isn't normal. He's like, well, it's important that you have this, or whatever the case may be. But they were lessons that he learned in seeing me as a woman valuing my time and valuing my space and putting up, blockers to say, no, this is my time. This is my space. This is my personal whatever. And you get to have yours as well. Because that's another thing we don't do. We tend not to allow our children to have personal space. This is my house. Everything in there is mine. Well, that's not fair. How would that make you feel?
It's crazy because I do it not realizing how you're saying it. I didn't realize how it really does affect. I only did it because I wanted something different. I wanted to do something different than what I was brought up. And I did it with just the little one. The older one, I was young, and I'm trying to do what my mother did with me. But the little one, he's like, I call him my miracle baby. He wore he they told me I couldn't have kids. I had breast cancer. I had so much chemo that my ovaries shut down, and they said I couldn't have any kids, and he came.
Wow.
So I call him my miracle baby.
Yeah.
And I also had a baby before him that passed. So when I had him, I'm like, this is my special baby. This is the baby that's like, so I realized that he really is my special baby because he's teaching me. He teaches me so much.
Mm-hmm.
He don't realize it, but just not too long ago, he wasn't doing his homework. I understood. There was a reason why. Because my son is not a bad child.
Mm-hmm.
And he likes to speak his emotions and stuff. So when I noticed he wasn't doing his homework, I knew it wasn't because he just didn't want to do it. He didn't understand. And the
Right.
teacher was getting mad at him. This just happened yesterday. She was getting mad at him. And she would say, this is not sixth grade work. And she had put it in like big capital, and like yelling at her.
Mm-hmm.
And it made me so upset. Like I was ready to go at her
Right.
because you told me as a teacher when school first started, the school that your son came from do not prepare the kids for middle school. You told me that. I knew it, but you told me that. So the fact that you're telling me that and you're saying you're not writing in sixth grade, you're not writing sixth grade work, it bothered me because my thing is instead of saying that, help him. Help him so
Absolutely.
that he's able to write. So
Right.
I sent her this long message. Yes, I was angry. I didn't say any bad words or anything, but I was very angry. And I said to her, like, this is something you said to me. And I appreciate it so much. You as his teacher, if you can just help him and not do that to him. Because now
Mm-hmm.
my son, he reacts and he's like, I don't want to do it. I don't
Yeah.
want to do it because anything I write, she's going to say is not sixth grade. And I had to tell her that. I had to tell her that.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to say, like, you can't do that to him. So I had him write what was in his mind.
Yeah.
Don't be disrespectful, but whatever is in your brain, write it. How do you feel about what she just said? Because
Mm-hmm.
basically it was right about what this picture said. The picture said, something about I'm not waiting for you or something like that. Or no, I'm not wasting your time or stop wasting my time. And that could go
Wow.
both ways. Yeah, that's what it was about. Stop
Wow.
wasting my time. So I told him, write it. And he
Yeah.
did it. And when he wrote it, that's what I mean about this little one, man. He's so special. He basically said, I sometimes feel like I don't have anything in my mind. So sometimes I feel like I'm wasting your time by putting these things. So if I put what's in my brain, which is nothing, and you're yelling at me, I'm not gonna be able to put anything.
Mm-hmm.
So this is why I don't do it. But I need you to help me put the words inside so that I can know how to put it, so I could tell you. Now, I didn't say it word from word, but that's basically what he was saying, and, he apologized.
And how beautiful is that? Like to
I
have
tell
your
parents, you gotta advocate for your kids.
you do. You really
That was
do.
privately to just him. That wasn't supposed to be for me to see, but I watch.
Mm-hmm.
Have to sometimes. Not all teachers are bad, but some teachers they don't realize they think because we're in this urban area that we all are this because at one point you thought I was like really young and I had this really young kid. It doesn't matter if I was really young in my 20s or not. I'm 42, but it does
Mm-hmm.
not matter.
Mm-hmm.
That's still my child and I don't need you to disrespect him like that again.
Mm-hmm.
Do your
Yeah.
job. Just do your job. You're supposed to help, not put that in his brain. And that made me so upset. I was so fuming, and I'm a parent advocate. Like I'm a real advocate. Like I'm suing the state. That's how much I am advocating for the not just mine. I advocate for everybody. So she knows I don't play that.
And see, that is a beautiful thing for him to see, you know, for you to have taken things and done things the way that you did, with having him write this, and finding out what was really going on with him, and seeing that it's okay to have these feelings and have these expression of feelings, and also to know that the person who is governing him will protect him. You know, when he sees that, you know, she's got my back, that I'm worth protecting, my feelings are worth protecting, you know, all of these different things go along with seeing you advocate for him. If you just tell him you need to do better, or you side with the teacher, or even if you don't side with the teacher but then you don't do anything about it, that gets internalized, because we always try to make sense of the things that happen to us and around us. And so he's going to come up with whatever reason fits for him at the time, whether it's he's not worth it. He maybe, you know, you agree with the teacher and you think he's not smart, or whatever the case may be. Your silence is going to say something to him just as loud as your action is going to say something to him. So I think that is wonderful and beautiful that you have taken it that in that direction, because he sees that he is worth protecting, that he is intelligent, and that when somebody is having a hard time, this is how you react. You know, you don't beat them down, you don't make them feel less than, you raise them up, you help them, you guide them, you give to them. And he carries that energy as well, just from seeing how you react to it. So if he comes across someone who's having a hard time, instead of bullying them or making fun of them, he'll reach out a hand. He'll be the one protecting that person, and saying, you guys stop bullying this person, you know, or whatever the case may be, because he's watching your example.
Right. Oh, he's standing right here. He heard me talking about. He heard me talking about. But it's like, all right, we're gonna look at the pictures, because I know
said that like 45 minutes ago.
I know, right? But I got so into the conversation. Let me share the screen. Okay, so this is what you were talking about.
Yeah. This was a show in Detroit. Most of my work, my later work, was done in Detroit, because that was after I started my business and I started to be an independent performer. I did actual circus work for about 2 years, but because of my son, I also homeschooled for a while. So I needed to be available to him, because that was more important to me than anything else. So I wanted to be a very active person in his life. So I started taking smaller events and jobs and doing performances around the city, so that I could be with him more. So anyway, that was
this is so beautiful.
But yeah, this was one of the smaller events that I did in Detroit.
Let me see.
I think I burned my hair at that part at that event.
Oh, you did.
There was one, I think it was this show. I did a fire trick. It's this particular trick where you take the flame and you light your tongue on fire, and then you take the unlit torch and put it to your mouth to light the new torch. So it's called a fire transfer. So I did this, and I don't know what I did wrong, but I had my hair was much longer, and one of my curls burnt clean off, like straight through the middle of this curl, and there was like this cute little ringlet just laying on the stage.
Oh, stop!
I saw it and I was like, oh shit, I burned my hair. Oh my God. But I'm in the middle of the show, so I have to stay poised and, still carry on. So I'm in my head, I'm like, God damn it. Oh, God damn it. Oh, God damn it. And so because I'm thinking, like, am I still on fire? Like, is there something else? So I'm like doing all these moves to like
Oh
check
my
to see if my hair is
God.
still on fire. And this guy, I'm walking off stage, and this guy picks up my curl and he said, "You left your shit." I was mortified.
Oh my
Anyway,
gosh.
so that was fun.
So you made this?
Yeah, that was when I first and this is funny because I was a dancer in the clubs for 4 years, but I never did one single pole trick. Again,
Wow.
I was not there to work. So
This is knit, right?
that is a combination of knit and crochet. So
Okay.
after once the pandemic hit, I started pole dancing because I was just trying to find ways to stay active, because before this I was going to the gym like 6 days a week, and I was practicing 6, 7 days a week, and I was teaching like 8 classes a week and having like 3 shows every weekend. So it was like I was fit, and when all the gyms closed and the parks closed and everything closed, I had no way of exercising. So my partner bought me a pole, and I started pole dancing. And it was weird again because I've been around poles for a while, but I never did any pole tricks. So this is the first time that I'm like actually using the pole. And I wanted to, of course, make some cute little outfits for myself.
Yeah.
And have like little booty shorts and things that expose my midriff, because you use your skin as like sticking points. So you have to have a lot of, so I made that. The top is knit and the shorts are crochet. That is actually a pattern that I tested for someone, and I ended up doing my own thing with it. So
I think they are too cute. It's really cute.
thank you.
And
Yeah,
this
that was
is
another one.
cute. Granny square.
Yeah, it was funny because when I saw the pattern, I'm like, granny squares.
I know, right?
But I saw it and I'm like, okay, how can we make this cute? And I put my own little spin on it, and I ended up with some cool pole dance shorts.
Yeah. So this is the yarn that I was talking about with the different textures.
Yeah. So
I
this
am
is a hand
loving
spun.
it.
Yeah. And this comes out that way. It doesn't look commercial at all, because it's made from raw fiber. So when you get the yarn in the store, a lot of times it has man-made fibers in it, like acrylic and nylon, all these different fibers mixed in. Um,
Mhm.
and even when it's a natural fiber, it's processed by machines. So it's processed very finely and evenly, and they're able to get
Mhm.
every single strand going in the exact same direction and all these different things. But when you do it by hand, you're unable to get that. So you end up with more of a raw look, more of like a puffier look. More organic, I think it is. And I prefer that look for most of the things that I make. So
Mhm.
this was fun because I got to process the fiber. I went out to the farm and I wrangled the sheep. I wrestled that sheep down, and
Get out of
like
here.
it head butted me twice. Like it was hard to get that fiber. And by the time I left the farm, I was covered in poop and grass stains and everything else. And
So this was well worth it.
it was it was a lot of work. And I shaved they call it shearing. So I sheared the sheep, got the fiber, processed the fiber, and dyed the fiber, and then spun it into yarn. So it's complete.
Whoa. Now this right here is cute because it's the red, the black, and well, it's the green, the red, and the black.
Yes.
And you dyed that yourself?
Yes. So this is actually a machine made yarn. People who dye yarn tend to buy what we call bare yarn or naked yarn, meaning
Mhm.
that it's either completely white or it's in its natural color, which is usually like an off white. And you buy the yarn and then you can dye it all these amazing colors. So this was one. The way that I twisted it, it looks like the green and the red are together, but it's actually the black is the middle and it's folded over. So the red,
Oh,
it's the red, black, and green, which are the, the Pan African color, the same colors you see in
right,
every African flag, but
right.
it was a color that I hadn't really seen um, before. And yeah, so I was like, let me do something for the people.
Yes, power to the people.
Right.
Okay, so did you share the goat for this one?
So I did for the gold one, but not, well, I take that back. The black one, black and brown, the majority of that somebody else um, processed the fiber on their farm.
Mhm.
So it still went through the same process as I did, but I didn't actually do it. I bought it from someone who had actually done it already. The black part in that black and brown yarn did come from uh, one of the. It wasn't a sheep; it was a goat that yarn came from, an
Okay.
Angora goat, and or no, sorry, not Angora, Shetland, a Shetland. Gave me that fiber. And then the gold one was completely uh my fiber that I got on my own, with the exception of, I think there's like some sparkles in there that I mixed in. So that's the only thing. But
Nice.
that all of that is still.
Now this look like cotton candy.
I know. I love Rolegs. So Rolegs are a way of blending the fiber so that you can get cool color patterns. And what you do is you unroll it and then you spin the yarn from the tip. So
Mm,
it just makes it easier and more compact for you to hold it and spin from it, and also to store it. Because if you take a bunch of different colors, and the thing that it's on with the little nails, you can see there that it says
that's
on a blending board, and you take the fiber and you paint the fiber onto the board and brush it through, and then you can add different colors and different fibers so that you get these cool mixes, and then you just roll it into these little cinnamon rolls, and then you're able to spin the fiber into yarn off of that. So it's just a
that
way
is
to
so
add your
cool.
layer to it before you spin it.
And this is the same way, just a little
Hmm.
purple.
Yep, those are just different colors that I
This
added
is
together.
so cool.
That one's Miss Fran's. That's the one she picked.
This is Miss Friends.
The one before it, the
Oh, this
yeah.
one.
Hmm. That's the one.
Miss Friend got the good stuff.
Yeah, it's already spoken for. She messaged me right away.
That's what she was talking about. Okay. Now this is cute.
Yeah,
That orange and yellow is the truth.
the orange and yellow was an accident, and it ended up being a happy accident. So I
Yes.
made more of them, and I was like, oh, I didn't know that I could do that, and I did it, and it was beautiful. So
Yes, that came out really nice. Now the colors that you have here are really pretty.
these are all food. So I
Oh, the coffee
mhm,
and the black beans.
yep. So I started a project just for myself, just to see. I'm really big on, natural and minimalism. I think I told you we live on the road.
Yeah.
So my partner and I, we live in a different state or city. Every month we move. So everything that we have fits in our vehicle. So I don't have a lot of space. everything is like very, very, very minimal. There's not a lot of wasting. There's a lot of reusing and repurposing. And so I wanted to find a way to repurpose the foods that we were using and getting rid of, because we were just composting and throwing stuff away. And I'm like, there's got to be like, there's something here, and I had seen before where people were using plants to dye. Another thing is I'm huge into like the Discovery Channel and National Geographic and all that kind of stuff. And so you see all these cool shows about how things were done back in the day when they didn't have dyes and things like that. They used plants and minerals and insects and all these different things to create color. And so that was really fascinating. So I wanted to try it for myself. And this was the product of that. So the top right and left, the lighter ones, actually the two in the middle, the blue, that's from black beans. And it's funny because I tell people that and they're like, how did you get blue,
right?
black beans? But black, holds all colors.
Yep.
The color black is a combination of
It
every
sure does.
color under the spectrum. That's why we're so lovely and beautiful and come in so many lovely shades. But so getting blue from black was not very hard at all. So that's from black beans. And then the two on the right and left at the top, the lighter ones, are dyed from the exhaust, the leftover, the runoff dye from the first black beans. So those are
okay.
a
That's
lighter
why they're lighter.
And then just underneath that, the lighter peach is from avocado skins. And then there's two peach directly in the middle. They're a little bit darker, and that's from avocado pits. And then in between those are like a brownish hazelnut color, and I got that from coffee. Yeah. So all of those. In fact, I just put those in the shop today. I think there's probably like one or two of each color left, something like that. People showed up earlier today and cleaned me out, and it was great. It was a great feeling.
Nice. Because the colors are so beautiful, and I'm too late probably. But this one right here is something what I was looking for. This is really pretty.
Well, all you got to do is DM me. I'll make you some of that. That ain't no problem.
Yeah, because I wanted to do something like unicornish for my niece. I actually asked Miss Peachy, so we were in the middle of talking about that, but I never actually told her like the actual colors and stuff that I had wanted yet. But this is really pretty because it's almost like I see specks too.
Yeah. That one, I threw a bunch of my favorite colors together, and some of the colors that are in there are not actual colors that I put on there. They're actually colors that emerged once two other colors blended together.
I got it.
It was, and this is why I love, doing this, because it's so fun to watch what happens, because you can plan out a colorway and the yarn is going to do what it wants to do.
Right.
And it's kind of a life lesson too. Like, you can plan all you want, but it's going to do what it's going to do. And I'm just happy that it actually worked out. It's beautiful.
It did. It came out so pretty.
I think there's two of these left in the shop, but if not, I can always make you more.
Cool. So this is one of your dance moves.
Yes, this is the aerial. I was talking about where you have to hook up to the ceiling. And this particular show was done outside for a 4th of July. It was in Canada, and they do this huge 4th of July thing for Windsor, where they shut down all the streets and all this kind of stuff along the lake. And we did this event, and it's actually hooked up to independent rigging that we had to set up outside so that we could have something for me to hang from. So it was pretty cool.
That is cool. I wish I could do that.
This was also in Canada, but for a different show. Like I said, I lived in Detroit, and Canada's like 20 minutes away from Detroit. So
Mhm.
we had a lot of shows in Detroit. And this one was inside of a building, so we just rigged it to the ceiling.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Ooh.
This was somebody's concert. I cannot remember for the life of me whose concert it was. We've done like Les Nubian, we've done Erica Badu, we've done Kendrick Lamar, we've done Mos Def, we've done Janelle Monáe. We've done quite a few shows, and I don't remember whose show this was,
What?
but it was for a concert, and yeah.
So they had the dancers just in the
No,
air
it was
singing.
it was like an opening act, you know.
Uh-huh.
Usually what artists will do when they go to a city is they will have like local celebrities open for them or open for their openers, you know.
Gotcha.
Usually people get to a concert, you know, about an hour or so before it actually starts. So a lot of people don't even know this, but there's probably like 3 or 4 acts that go on even before the actual opening show.
Right.
And
That I know. Yeah.
yeah, so they usually have local talent perform because it's just easier than trying to hire somebody to go on the road. Uh,
Hmm.
so that's what that was. We were the local talent.
Nice. This one is beautiful. Like
Thanks.
this one is really beautiful.
Yeah, so that was obviously hula hooping, and just finding different ways to use the hula hoop. And you know, I'm like, oh, we can do it with our hands, we can do it with our body, we can do it with our feet, we can do it with our head, our neck. I can hula hoop with my butt.
Yeah, I wait, I want to see that.
It's so funny. You're basically just twerking with the hula hoop going around your butt. You gotta have
Oh,
you gotta have a butt.
well, that I don't like. I have
I've,
that.
I've seen some people do it and they don't have a butt, and the hula hoop just goes around one time and flies off.
This right here is dope. When I saw this, I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is so cool." It reminds me of like a movie or like
It's
yeah,
funny
like
because this
wow.
was this was for a traveling show that I was a part of, and it was like a vaudevillian type show, and obviously that's a fire sword. And I would do belly dancing with the fire sword. I would balance it on my head and do different dances, different moves, and
Nice.
run it across my body, all these different things with the fire sword. And I think I also did aerial and contortion and something else in this particular show. But this show was so much fun because it was all of us from Detroit, and we created something that was like really beautiful and really great. We had this amazing group of circus performers in Detroit, and we created this Motor City vaudeville show. And we took it around, and we were performing in different states, different cities, just all over the place. We kind of went on tour for a little bit, and it was a lot of fun. It was a great, great, great time in my life. So this was just one of the events. Somebody snapped a shot when I was on stage.
I was about to say, did you have a photographer? Because your pictures are awesome.
Well, usually what happens, we didn't have a photographer that traveled with us, but we did have, and I believe this was by Cheryl. She did most of my pictures that were in Detroit because she was part of the circus group, and she was a photographer, and she was the only one that had like a fancy camera. So she would take these wonderful pictures.
Yeah, they're beautiful. Now the snake.
This is she was a baby.
Now
She was
look.
so tiny.
Oh my gosh.
And this, I think, was probably her second or third performance. But you can see just in this picture, like she just stopped and did like this little pose on my breast. And it is like so perfect. Like she just knew where the camera was at all times. And she would pose and stop and do all these things. I remember one time I was dancing and she was around my neck and somebody was getting ready to take a picture and she actually slithered and stopped like right in the center of my forehead for the picture. So it looked like I had this like snake crown. It was so beautiful, but she had a knack for knowing where the camera was, and she was always moving because that's how she was able to stay attached to my body. But whenever the camera was on, she'd stop, take a picture, and keep going, and then stop, take a picture.
That is so cool. Now this is cute.
That's the harness.
I remember well, I remember someone had a harness at a party. It was a party. It was one of those romancing parties, I think it was.
Okay.
And I'm like, why would I buy a harness?
Yeah.
Why would I buy one?
I love all things sexy and sensual and anything that allows me to feel myself or love myself or feel sexy or all these different things. So I can have a party all by myself. And I can wear lingerie just for myself, just walking around the house, so I'm into all of those lovely, beautiful things. And so for me, I didn't necessarily like harnesses because they were cold and rigid and uncomfortable. Yeah. So when I had the opportunity to make a knitted harness, which was soft and silky and stretchy and super comfy, I jumped on it because I think that it's a very, very beautiful way of accenting certain parts of your body, which I'm all about. And at the same time, it's extremely comfortable. So that also works out because I can wear it all day. And there's some other pictures on my Instagram. When I first made this, I was wearing that thing every day. Like I would wear it under my clothes. Like if I had a t-shirt on, I'd wear it under my clothes on my bare breasts. And so it would look kind of peek out the bottom, peek out the top. So you kind of get just a little hint of how much of a freak I am. or you could wear it on top of your clothing like I did in this picture. And it's just an added accessory to an otherwise relatively plain outfit. But there's some other pictures that I put on my pole dancing page. They're a little bit more risque. I
didn't know you had a pole dancing page.
Oh yeah, honey.
I need to go look at that one.
I'll tag you in one of the posts so you can see it. But I posted on my my fiber page, I should say, me wearing that pole dance outfit that I crocheted, and I showed it myself on the pole with it. I also posted another pole video when I made this harness because I did it up. I put the black booty shorts on. I had the black strappy heels and, the black lacy bra and everything in the harness. And I got all dressed up and did a little thing on the pole to showcase the harness. But it got reported. So I had to take it down, and then I put it back up, but I put a photo on top of it. So you only saw the video if you actually clicked.
That makes no sense because you know how many women be on there just shaking nothing, and it is more raunchy instead of beautiful and sexy. It's like, that's stupid. Somebody was jealous.
I was gonna say, so somebody somewhere thought that, and again, our community, our fiber community, up until recently, at least in the spotlight, has only been old white ladies. And so, and not only just old white ladies, but old white Christian ladies,
Yeah.
who, are very against a lot of the things that happen on my page. So, I wasn't surprised. So I just put a picture over top of it. So the video, you have to scroll to the next picture in order to see it. But
Oh.
there is a poll page with some other stuff on it. So you just go to the poll page, and the people on that side know what to expect. So I'm not getting reported.
Right. Okay.
On
I
that
get
side.
it. So this is what really made me drew me more to you is when I saw you in the process of making your shawls.
Yes.
I am in love.
Thank you.
I love it.
I could not stand shawls. When I first started making things, I would see people make these shawls, and I'm like, who the hell is wearing a damn shawl? Like, this is not 1940. We ain't living in the woods, And I just thought it was like, okay, how many shawls can you own? You get one, that's enough, right? Because are you really wearing a shawl every day? But when people started wearing the triangle scarves, and they would crisscross it in the back and pull it to the front and just wear it, around the chest. I was like, oh, that's cute. So then I started making all these shawls. And then you find different ways to wear them. You can wear it as more of like a wrap, because again, I thought a shawl, you just wear it across your shoulders and that was it. That's all you could do. But when you see that you can, pull it to one side and wrap it across your shoulder like I have here, or wear it as a triangle scarf. There's all different kinds of things you can do with it now. And these are a lot of fun for me to make. So I love, love,
I'm
love when.
trying to get that loom. I want it so bad. I want it now. I want it so bad. I really do. And you make dolls. Come on now, girl.
Yeah, the little babies. This was another thing. I didn't see any little brown babies,
Oh,
So
was this before the doll, the lady dolls, the girls who are making dolls now?
yeah, I think this was 2016, 2015, something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah,
But where I wasn't seeing any black and brown dolls with natural hair.
yeah.
So initially my very first doll had a head wrap, because I never saw a doll with a
Was
head wrap.
it this one?
Yes, that's my very first one.
Yeah.
So I was like, I want her to be deep chocolate brown, and I want to have a head wrap because I never see these ever. And at the time, I did see a few people making crochet dolls, but they didn't look like
It
this.
looks like us.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I met this one woman, and she has I think it's called my beautiful brown doll or something.
Yolanda.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I saw her and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing.
Yeah.
So I took her class, giving all credit to her.
Yeah.
When it comes to that, she answered all my questions and helped me out and did all kinds of videos and all this stuff. And I learned how to create these dolls, and I just started pumping them out. So I was making like a doll a week, in like big afros, afro puffs, head wraps, locks, braids.
Wow.
Yeah, just everything natural that we do to our hair. And she indulged me in all of those things. So it was really fun. Really
I could never get into doing the dolls. Never. It just wasn't, just like a lot of people can't get into graph hands. I can't get into doing dolls. I wouldn't mind looking at it. I don't mind looking, but I just can't get into me making it. It's not something I want to do. But
It is a lot of work.
it's, yeah, I was just about to say, I think it's beautiful because it's so intricate. It's very intricate.
Yeah.
I like. Now this, did you make this?
Yes, I did.
This is hot. This was your pattern or was it?
No, this was someone else's pattern.
This is hot.
This was part of my intro to knitting. So I was like, I'm gonna learn how to knit. And then I chose this.
Yo, intro to knit was this?
Yes. And that took me like 3 months to make because I kept making mistakes. There were abbreviations that I had no clue what they were. But I was like determined to make this, and so I kept going. It was definitely a labor of love, and when I finally
you are just so freaking talented. Every time I heard, just so talented. Jeez. Now this I remember. I think when I first met you, I think you just finished this dress, if I'm not mistaken.
This dress, I don't think so because this dress is really old.
Oh, then I don't know what I was saying then.
This is a recent photo, but that dress is probably like not really old. It's like 3 years old.
I think, well, then maybe I remember you posting it. That's probably what.
Yeah, because I did repost it. I think that was about fall or something because everybody was like, "It's fall, y'all," and I was so sick and tired of hearing that.
Yeah,
so I posted it.
Cute. And it was crochet.
Yeah, that one is completely crocheted. It's a series of, it's all double crochet. But it's double crochet in the form of regular double crochet, cross stitch, the X stitch using double crochet, and the bobble stitch.
Yeah.
Like the popcorn stitch.
This is beautiful.
This dress was my intro into shaping. So this was somebody else's pattern, but they made it. The pattern was made for people without a butt. So I had to figure out how to alter it to my shape because it just looked like a potato sack and I didn't like it very much. So I took it all apart, started over. I used the pattern as far as like the design, like the changing of rows, but the shaping and the sleeves and the neck, I did differently to fit my body.
You do exactly what I do. Now I like this one with the little red, the red that comes out, the black, the white.
Yeah,
My
partner put that in there. I was weaving and I'm like, honey, I need like something, because this shawl is when I first started learning how to weave on a rigid heddle loom. And there's these particular rules. There's, ways of doing traditional weaving to make sure everything's straight and even and uniform and all this kind of stuff. And like I said, I don't like doing stuff that everybody else is doing.
Yep.
So I was like, you tell me not to do something, that's what I'm going to do. And so this is called the Rule Breaker shawl. Because I went against every rule that I was told in weaving to do. So I used completely different yarn that you're not supposed to pair with other types of yarns. I skipped a bunch of stitches to create different patterns. You can see there the little dangly bits are from me just leaving my edges out instead of tucking them or, weaving them in. Yeah, so it was just all different kinds of stuff that I did in this shawl to break all the rules.
Nice. But it came out nice.
Yeah, I really love, and I actually made, I think 3 or 4 of these, and they all sold. But after the 4th one that I made, I was like, okay, I'm not doing this anymore because I don't like to do the same thing over and over again. Then it becomes work, and I don't like to work. So I don't want to do that anymore. So after the 4th one, I'm like, okay, we're cut off. We're not making this anymore. So I started doing other stuff. But I feel like enough time has passed that I'll probably do something like this again, because it got such a really good response and it was fun to do. But it'll of course be different than this one. It'll
Okay.
be different elements.
Now this is gorgeous.
This is knit as well.
Yeah.
This was, I think, the second time that I started doing shaping with knitting, which is extremely different than shaping with crochet.
Crochet, yeah.
I was also introduced to German short rows with this pattern, which you don't think is necessary. You're like, that's fine. I'll just make it regular, until you wear it, and then your neck is like, the neck of your sweater is like choking you, and you have all this space in the back. You don't realize that it's the panels of your front and your back are not exactly the same. There's one that's slightly higher than the other to allow the room for your shoulders and your neck, that curve. So I had a hard lesson in that, and I ended up having to take it all apart. No, that's not right. There was a knitting shirt that I made and I didn't do it. And so then when I made this one, I made sure to learn how to do German short rows for this one. So this was a learning experience too. Also, this was all scraps. This was
I'm looking at the texture. That's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at the texture because I could tell the texture is different.
Yeah, these are all scraps. So it's a combination of hand spun and commercial yarn. And it was everything that was left over from other projects. So that's why you see the different rows. Like, I didn't do that as like a design choice. I did it because I didn't have any more yarn. So I had to do something else. And then I had to make sure that even if I had just a little bit of yarn left, I only used enough that would allow me to start another row evenly. So you can't see it, but the other arm is a different color than the arm that's facing the camera because I ran out of yarn.
Gotcha. It's beautiful. Now this.
Yeah,
I
this was
see
crochet.
this. Yeah, I see a version of it everywhere.
Yeah.
Like a little version of it, not the same exact thing, like a version of it.
Yeah, this was something that I saw. I actually saw this first when I was in Cuba. And the evil eye is really, 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 really big in the Latino community. And so you see it everywhere in everything there, and especially in Cuba, it's like painted on the sides of people's houses. People are wearing jewelry and charms and shirts and painted on their cars. I mean, it's everywhere. So I first saw a version of this in Cuba, and then when I was back home, I saw, I think it was on Pinterest or something, there was a similar version of this, and I was like, I'm gonna do one for myself. And so I chose my colors and kind of just
This is
do that.
cute. I like. This right here, I was looking at this picture because I think I found this picture. You didn't give it to me. I found it. I was like, oh, yes, we got to use this picture. I asked first. I'm not just going to take, but this is gorgeous.
My mom has like a 20 by 40 of this in her house.
Get out of here. This is gorgeous.
She actually, I forgot, she actually has this tattooed on her leg, this exact picture.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
That is beautiful.
She was like, I love it. I need it. My mom's covered in tattoos as well. The first person I ever saw with tattoos, and she has like 2 bachelor's degrees, a master's, and a PhD, all in different different areas. She's just super corporate. She runs like Fortune, does project management for like Fortune 100 companies and all this kind of stuff. And she's covered in tattoos, and she's got tattoos on her hands, on her chest, like everywhere.
Wow.
And so when I saw that, I was like, hearing people like, you're never gonna get a job, no one's gonna, you know, I'm like, yeah, right.
A lot of people say that, but
nowadays my mom.
it's not like that. Yeah, it's not like that anymore. Not at all.
So when I saw her, I was like, yeah, this is I got to go ahead.
Yeah, and I think this is the last one. This is beautiful too. I think we saw this one already.
Yeah.
But yeah, we done with the pictures. But oh my gosh, this was like so much like a treat. This was like a treat for us. Like, this was so beautiful. I want to thank you so much, Ademigua.
Thank you. This was a lot of fun. I love being able to connect and share and learn. And yeah, it's a lot of fun to just connect with people that are like-minded and being able to learn about it and seeing how people, you know, experience life on their own. You know, I don't want to just have my own experience. I like to see how other people experience the world as well. So it's really cool.
Yeah, I experience life differently now, only because of what I've been through. I've been through so much. So now I appreciate life. I live it by the rule of attraction. And I'm happier now because of that.
That's beautiful.
Now I appreciate life. I appreciate my boys. I appreciate everyone who appreciate me. I'm just happier now.
Yeah.
I'm happier. So I guess that's how I see you. And I'm like, this is how I want to be. I want to be like free spirit. And I just want to be free and just loving. And that's how I see you. I see you in a place where that's where I am trying to be.
Yeah, well, you're there. You're definitely there. We have our own way of experiencing that freedom. You know, not everybody is going to sell all their belongings and stuff their life into a car and live in a different state every month and eat fire, or, you know, all these different things. So that's how I, you know, experience my freedom. But somebody else may experience their freedom differently, you know, when it comes to how they live their life or how they express their creativity, or, you know, how they express their emotions, or, you know, how they use their words. All these different things are an expression of your freedom and how you live your life. So you're definitely there, you know. It doesn't need to look like mine, you know.
Right.
And it won't ever look like mine, because you're you and I'm me. But you're definitely there. You're living on your terms, and you're raising your babies on your terms and in your way, and living your life in your way. So that's your freedom. You're definitely there.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you. I really
Yes.
do. I appreciate you. And we could do this again sometime. We could come back on here and talk about some other stuff, or learn more. I want to loom. I'm going to get that.
Like I said, I'm not an expert, but I can definitely show you what I know or help you. If you have questions, we can always, you know, do little videos. I was trying to do like a little YouTube on my own, and nobody was subscribed. So
do y'all hear this?
I was like, okay, this is working. After 6 months, I got 2 views on one video, and I got 3 views on another video. After 6 months,
watch.
So I was like,
I can hype you up. We can get you going.
Okay, I'm not doing this anymore, because I felt like I was just talking to myself.
Sometimes it's okay to talk to yourself. Like I was doing that in the beginning. I was talking to myself, and I don't know how I got 1,700. What is it? 1,700 subscribers? I don't
Mhm.
know what it is anymore. 1,800. But I used to count. Now I don't. I don't even count it
Mhm.
anymore. It's fine. It's okay. But if you want some subscribers, I can help you. If you want to do YouTube, I can help you.
Yeah, maybe I'll give, because my partner was like, "Oh, you should do something now that we're living on the road, and you can like do different vlogs about the new
You,
places that
I'm
we're
telling
living
you,
and what you're
you will
doing."
go viral.
Like,
You will
man,
go.
after that last experience I had, I was like, nobody's gonna watch me. Nobody cares. You're like, and like nobody's worried about what I'm doing over here. You know, everybody's trying to live their life
Your
their own
life
way, and I'm
is adventurous, and it's something that some people might want to live through you. Because you travel every single month. Like, you are in a place where some of us may want to be. We may want to see the things that you're seeing and
yeah.
appreciate life the way you're seeing it. So yes, I'm telling you, you will go viral. I can help you.
Well, we're in Austin right now, and we are here for another week and a half, and then we are going to Sedona. And Sedona is like a witch's paradise. So um,
In
I'm really,
Texas,
I'm sorry,
Sedona. Where is Sedona?
Arizona.
Arizona.
Yeah, and it's like Sedona's like over like a vortex, like an energy vortex or something like that, and there's like all these cool because it's a lot of rock and mountains and desert and stuff. There's a lot of like crystals and stones and minerals and all these, different things and places you can visit. And there's a lot of creativity and natural, holistic,
Oh,
all that
cool.
good juju stuff. So I'm really excited to go there and
What
try
made you
out
pick
there.
that place? Like, how do you guys choose where you're going?
Um, we choose based on what's available, honestly, because with the pandemic, we were supposed to go to San Diego, but California has lost its fucking mind. Like
Yeah.
it's on a whole nother thing. And
Yeah.
so we decided to not go to San Diego, and we're just gonna stop in Arizona, and then we'll probably go up to maybe Portland, and then go to Bozeman, Montana. It's supposed to be really, really beautiful out there. A lot of natural open mountains and lakes and like open areas with like wildlife stuff. So super cool stuff out there, which is totally different because I grew up in Detroit. I grew up in the city. I grew up in kind of a, hood area. So it's
Mhm.
like, watching like wildlife. I mean, it's Michigan, so we would see like deer or something, but
Yeah.
seeing like a moose just hanging out drinking from the lake, you're like, oh my God, like this is
Yeah,
amazing. Like you only
yeah.
see this on National Geographic. So it's pretty cool to go to some of these places that you only saw on TV, or at least for me, only I saw on TV when I was growing up.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go up and then over and then back down. And we plan on being in the New England area because we want to go to Maine
Okay.
by next summer.
Okay.
So this summer, I think we'll probably be down southeast by summer, like New Orleans. I got to go back to New Orleans. Kind of,
Louisiana.
yeah, kind of re up my juju,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
so we'll be out there in the summer, but yeah, I want to be in Maine by next summer, so we'll see. But
Okay,
we're
so
just kind of
you
making
be
our way
passing
and
by
exploring.
us,
I'm sorry.
New Jersey. You probably be passing New Jersey.
Well, we have one of my favorite tattoo artists is in Asbury Park.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
yeah, so we were there last year because I got tattooed. I got this collie um, last year in Asbury Park, and I think my partner I don't even know if he got any room left. He's so funny. He's like covered from head to toe. Um, but he wants to go back. So we'll more than likely. So, honestly, now I think about it, you were saying, how do we pick? We kind of pick it based on our favorite tattoo artists. Because every time we go to a new state, we get another tattoo. And so we're like, who's in this area that's like
Oh, wow.
a really dope artist that we want to get tattooed by. And so we'll pick kind of based on, because tattooing is a huge thing that we share between the two of us. And it's a really, we choose artists that kind of have more of a sacred practice. So a lot of like private studios and things like that. Some of the stuff is like indigenous or nature. Like we were in Thailand and I got my chest done, my sakyan, which is a like a spiritual tattoo. There is a priest that like says a bunch of prayers and channels energy and all this kind of stuff, and then picks a design for you. And they use the little spear thing and they tap it into you dot by dot.
Oh, wow.
So they just go like with this big old spear and go bop, 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 by hand and tap it into your.
Is that worse than the actual gun?
Girl, yes.
Yes. It sounds like it is.
Yes. And it's funny because we did the ceremony, and at where we went, we were guided to we were given a mantra that resonated with the particular piece that we got. And so you had to sit there like this, with your hands and facing the monk and repeat the prayer over and over and over again while you're getting tattooed. So I'm sitting like this, like squeezing the shit out of my hands because it is hurting so bad. And I'm like fighting back, like, just kind of breathe, like go with the pain, like, like it's okay. This is an experience. It's fleeting, it'll be over soon. And then, it's what's done is done and blah, blah. So I'm talking to myself, but at the same time, I'm saying this prayer and right at the moment where I felt like I could not take it anymore. And I actually, because, you feel like, okay, I need to stop. No, I need to fucking stop. But you don't want to because it's this beautiful ceremony and there's like all these like altars and statues and flowers and offerings and all this. I mean, you're in this beautiful atmosphere, you're in nature, and it's this wonderful experience. So you don't want to stop. But the flesh is like,
screaming, right?
Right at the moment that I was like, okay, I got to stop. He finished. So it was like perfect timing because I was like, I don't think I can do this anymore. And all of my tattoos hurt, but there is sort of a meditative practice that kind of happens for me when I get tattooed. In fact, this one that I got, it's of trying to get the angle of the camera. You see,
I see.
There we go. It's so weird. What I think is my right is the left in the camera.
I know, right?
This tattoo actually fell asleep while I was getting tattooed because I was so deep in the goddess. Her name is Tara, and she's the goddess of compassion. And she has a bunch of different mantras, but I picked one of her mantras that I really loved, and I repeated the mantra the whole time I was getting tattooed. And I was so deep into my chanting that I actually fell asleep. And the guy, he was like, I've never in my life tattooed somebody that fell asleep while they were getting tattooed. But for me, I do have a very high pain tolerance. So pain, I don't experience pain the same way as a lot of people. So I get it. They do hurt, but the pain is, I don't know, it transforms into something else for me in my experience.
Well,
this right here,
mine hurt, but it wasn't to the point where I felt like I only had one. This is the only one I have in Survivor.
And that's a really good spot for it too. That's a really good spot for it.
And it's the matching. I got it with my son. He has my whole name on his arm like this, my whole name, and it has the same font And around here is the ribbon, breast cancer ribbon.
Okay.
That's what he has on his breast cancer ribbon.
Nice.
Yeah, and then on top of the S, he has a crown. It's a tiara.
Okay.
That's
Nice.
my name. Breast
Aww.
cancer ribbon.
Yeah, that's actually a really good spot for it. Any spot that's like soft,
Mm.
like here, like closer to the inside of my armpit, underneath the arm hurts really bad. The inner crease of the arm is touchy. The inside the wrist can be a little bad for some people. Any
Yeah.
bony areas, like I have my whole back done. It goes from the middle of my head down to the middle of my butt cheek. And I also have the whole side of my head done.
I
So
saw
about
that.
here
I
to around
saw that.
here.
Do
And then it
you
comes
draw
down.
your own?
Some of them, yes. But honestly, the majority of them, I allow the artists to do what they want. And that's why I choose certain artists, because I feel confident that if I give them creative license, creative freedom, they're going to give me something that's really, really cool. Because I know myself as an artist, if somebody has like 50 different requirements for something, I don't want to do it. It's work. When you got all these special requests and you want it like this and like that and this size,
Yeah.
that now my creative, I'm at a block. But when you tell me I can do whatever I want, you just give me like a general idea,
That's
then I'm like,
me.
ooh.
That's me. Everybody know if they say I need a graph and I need you to design this or this type of pattern, that's me. I'll say, do you give me freedom to tweak it or
Yeah.
I say divatize it. You want me to divatize it? And 9 times out of 10, they all say yes. Please divatize it, and it actually comes out beautiful. It comes out
Yeah.
better than what they thought. So I agree 100% with that. But I have to go because my son is standing
Oh,
right here, and I have to go in there and help him.
no problem. No problem at all. I
But
think we could
I
probably end
enjoyed
up
this so
talking all
much.
night. So
I know, right? We could talk all night long because I usually stop by now, but I was like going and going and going. Thank you so much. I
yeah,
appreciate
thank
you.
you.
I appreciate you. And I will talk to you again.
Yes. Oh, just before everybody goes, there's still yarn in the shop. If you want to go.
It's in the description. I put your website in the description.
Perfect.
I
So yeah,
got you,
there's
girl.
lots of stuff available. Clean me out so I can get some gas money to go to
It's
Arizona.
in the description, you guys. It's in the description. Thank you so much. I
Thank
appreciate you.
you.
You have a
Yes.
good night.
Bye.
Bye.